Hi friends, it's Steve Heinrichs here, Director of Indigenous Settler Relations for Mennonite Church Canada. I'm in Unistoten territory, some 60 kilometers outside of Houston, BC, with a 5-person Christian Peacemaker Team MC Canada delegation. We are here in this beautiful place supporting the work of the Unistoten Healing Center and the courageous reoccupation of traditional lands by Wet'suwet'en people. We're learning a lot, and if you'd like to learn more, you can check out www.unistotencamp.ca. Well, today I'd like to share with you the 4 key mandates of our Mennonite Church Canada Indigenous Settler Relations Program, and one key highlight from this past year that illustrates those mandates in action. The 4 mandates are 1. Education and dialogue, 2. Friendship and alliances, 3. Peace and justice, 4. Representation and committee participation. And these mandates and all our work are guided by 2 foundational documents, the Truth and Reconciliation's 94 Calls to Action and the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. To nurture education and dialogue that centers the priorities of Indigenous peoples, we've organized 4 different book clubs, helping congregants and pastors engage everything from structural racism in Canada to decolonizing the Bible to ecological justice and the defense of Indigenous lands. Our last book club explored a radical set of documents from the Catholic Church, which were co-created with Indigenous peoples. It's called Beloved Amazon. Through this study, we learned that for the Church, the defense of life, community, land, and Indigenous peoples' rights is an evangelical principle. Moreover, according to Beloved Amazonia, Indigenous territory, like this place that I'm in today, is, quote, not only a geographical space, but a place of meaning for faith and the experience of God in history, and a particular source of God's revelation. And so the defense of life is the defense of the territory. Peace and justice is central to healthy relationships. For the last 5 years, in response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 43rd, 44th, and 48th calls to action, we have been raising awareness of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and advocating for federal legislation to help transform Canada's laws so that they respect the minimum human rights standards of the Declaration. Justice Murray Sinclair once said, "For generations, Canada has waged war against Indigenous peoples through law. The UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples won't undo the war of law, but it will begin to address that war's legacy." Currently, Bill C-15, the legislation to implement the Declaration, is in the Senate. And spirit willing, this legislation will achieve royal assent and become law by June 23rd, before the Senate shuts down for the summer and we go through a likely fall election. Representation and committee participation is a big part of ISR's work. From collaborations with Christian Peacemaker teams to the Evangelical Fellowship of Canada, we are blessed to link arms with a wide diversity of communities who are seeking justice and right relations. And that includes our regional church Indigenous Relations and TRC groups in BC, Saskatchewan, and Eastern Canada. One of my favorite highlights comes from our MCEC Truth and Reconciliation Action Group. We were able to host a year-long webinar series on treaties and covenant relationships that received a wonderful response. Hundreds and hundreds came out. And alongside that rich awareness building, we also engaged a variety of actions to support 1492 Land Back Lane, an effort by the Haudenosaunee to reclaim and defend their lands. Education and action, words and deeds together. Now that's powerful stuff. To foster friendship and alliances, ISR has long supported and championed the brilliant community called NAITS, the North American Indigenous Institute for Theological Studies. Today, as I record this video, more than 30 friends and members of Mennonite Church Canada are zooming into NAIT's annual 3-day symposium, learning all about treaties and those covenants here in Canada and around the world that bind Indigenous and settler peoples together, not only as neighbors, but as family. And that brings me to my last word. I was asked to speak to one challenge or question for ISR going forward. And I think that the main or most significant challenge is how we mobilize our greatest gift that we have as a Mennonite community, and that's our people. How we mobilize into collective solidarity work that joyfully follows the priorities and leadership of Indigenous peoples. We have some amazing regional working groups that are doing significant work. The challenge for those working groups is to imagine themselves not first and foremost as education or even advocacy task forces or the group that is doing this work, but as prophetic organizing circles who are seeking to mobilize the larger regional church in risk-taking lives of reconciling friendship with Indigenous hosts. The church is mission, and the gospel is good news for the poor and oppressed. We need missionary disciples of decolonizing justice, and if we dream and plan and organize toward that vision, we can do it. And by God's grace, we will. Thank you so much, friends, for engaging this ISR update and report. I wish you God's blessing in all your work, and we'll see each other soon. Take care.